Okay, let's try this again. I just filmed this whole video and realized I was not recording. Awesome. Hey friends, welcome or welcome back. My name is Shannon, and today we are going to talk about a mystery spiral that I went down a few months ago. We have some ghosts, missing campers, quirky heroines, and a literary conspiracy. I read 5 books back to back in 1 week while I was on vacation in Tennessee this past fall. All of these books that I'm talking about, I do not have physical copies for because I took them out digitally via my Libby app for my local library. So I'll put, the covers up here somewhere. Now, every autumn, my partner and I visit his parents in Tennessee. We don't do a whole lot. We, lounge around, go out to eat, make some repairs on the house. So I generally have a good amount of time to read. And for whatever reason, I was just in the mood for mysteries. And I just kept going one mystery after another throughout the week. And so we are going to talk about those now. First, I read The Clockmaker's Daughter by Kate Morton. This is a historical mystery novel with dual timelines of the years 2017 and Victorian London. So we start off when a group of artists gather together at Birchwood Manor in 1862 for a summer of creativity when tragedy strikes, leaving one woman dead and another woman missing. 150 years later, London archivist Elodie Winslow discovers a leather satchel containing an old photo and a sketchbook that leads her to Birchwood Manor. And as she investigates, the story unfolds through multiple intertwined timelines, revealing long buried secrets, lost loves, and the lingering presence of a ghostly narrator connected to the house. We learn how the house has had different uses in the interim years between the tragedy and Elodie's research. So it was used as a girls' school in the late 1800s. In the 1920s, it hosts a World War I veteran suffering the effects of the war. In the 1940s, a young mother rents it with her children to escape the bombing from London. And then in the 1980s, it's opened up to the public as a museum. And then in the 2000s, Elodie shows up with her satchel, with the notebook, and she believes that somehow Birchwood Manor is connected to her mother's death when she was a child. Even though the title references our narrator, the Clockmaker's daughter, who is describing everything that has happened in fragments, I really saw this book as a story about a place, about a house, as well as being about time and timelessness. There is also murder, thievery, romance, and betrayal, so a little bit for everyone. I enjoyed this and I was very engrossed while I was reading it, but when it came time to actually sit down and compile my thoughts for this video, I actually couldn't remember a thing about it, so, take that information how you will. My one criticism about this book is that the Elodie character was very flat and not fully developed. We meet a lot of interesting people throughout this story, and all of those people appear to be fully fleshed out, but it seems like Morton lost steam by the time she got to her 2000s characters. So I'm not sure what happened there. Regardless, it passed the time. It was entertaining. And, it was something for me to read while I was on vacation. So it did its job. Next, I read The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. This novel opens in the summer of 1975 with the disappearance of 13-year-old Barbara Van Laar from an elite summer camp in the Adirondacks, which is owned by her parents and also employs most of the area's locals. This disappearance raises instant alarm because 14 years earlier, her brother Bear also vanished from the same estate at the age of 9. As local detectives and camp staff unravel the mystery, long buried secrets about the wealthy Van Laar family, the camp's history, and the surrounding woods come to light. The narrative alternates between 3 distinct timelines and many points of view. So the first timeline is from the 1950s, where we learn about Barbara's parents and their marriage beginnings, which by our standards today would be an extremely dysfunctional marriage. However, would have been pretty common amongst the 1950s elite. The next timeline is 1961, when Bear disappears, the search for him, and the accusations against a local man of murdering him, despite Bear's body never being found. And then we have 1975 with Barbara's disappearance and the extensive search by a community and family still suffering from the fallout of Bear's disappearance 14 years earlier. Much of the search for Barbara is narrated by one of the detectives, a rookie who is the first female detective in Albany, New York. And so this novel blends literary mystery with suspense, and we are exploring privilege, trauma, gender and class inequities, and the stories communities tell to protect each other. I pretty much read this in one day. The pace and the multiple points of view and timelines just seemed to work, and I flew through it. Some authors don't always get multiple POVs in various timelines to work, but for me, this seemed to work. I flew right through it. It kept me occupied and entertained while on vacation, and I do recommend it if you don't mind tons of points of view and timelines. Next, I read Lenny Marks Gets Away with Murder by Kerryn Mayne, and this is set in, I believe, New Zealand. Unfortunately, I cannot remember because I do not have a physical copy of the book, so I can go back and double check, but I'm pretty sure it's New Zealand. We are following Lenny, a quirky, reclusive teacher whose carefully ordered life begins to unravel when she receives a letter from the parole board informing her about her estranged stepfather's release from prison. As Lenny tries to keep her world in control, memories of a traumatic childhood resurface, forcing her to confront the truth about what really happened that night her mother abandoned her and her stepfather went to jail. This is warm and funny and tender. Lenny tries to tell herself that she is happy with her life, but she is lonely, and she relies on coping mechanisms such as collecting various editions of the book The Hobbit. I think she has like 36, and consistently rewatching the TV show Friends to the point where she actually believes that she has friends in the Friends characters. The story blends mystery with character-driven healing as Lenny learns to face her past and open herself up to connection. And by opening herself up to connection, she has a series of funny mishaps, such as a drunken trivia night that leads to the theft of a dog. We go back and forth in time as Lenny's history is unraveled. This isn't cozy crime fiction. It's funny, but it's also bittersweet about loss, abandonment, grief, as well as friendship and acceptance. I was really enjoying this, and I loved Lenny. She's just adorable and quirky, and her thought processes were sometimes hilarious, and she's just so self-unaware and lacking in social skills. I just wanted to hug her and tell her that everything was going to be okay. However, an event happened near the end of the story that kind of ruined it for me. It just did not seem in line with the overall story of her childhood trauma and how she was as a woman today, coming to terms with it. To me, this event just didn't seem to fit in. So I was really disappointed with how it ended. But up until that, I was loving this book. I really was enjoying it. Lenny was just adorable. And like I said, it's funny, it's warm, but it's also bittersweet and tragic and sad, all mixed into one. And had that event not been in the story, I think I would have, enjoyed it so much more. Next, I read The Woman in the Library by Sulari Gentill. And this is a clever, layered mystery that begins with 4 strangers sitting in the Boston Public Library when a woman's scream shatters the silence. As these strangers who experience this event together become unexpectedly connected, one of them might be hiding dangerous secrets. This story unfolds through a novel within a novel structure where a writer's draft is interspersed with increasingly unsettling emails from a supposed fan. The result is a twisty, metafictional thriller about storytelling and the blurred lines between fiction and reality. This was an enjoyable read. We have a story within a story, a mystery within a mystery. So the story of the four strangers is actually being written by an author from Australia, and interspersed in that story is the author's letters and emails with both a creepy fan and the American FBI. I really enjoyed how the story being written was set in Boston, and the author got most of the Boston setting correct. I think there was only one thing that was completely incorrect, but I already forgot what it was, so it obviously wasn't that important. So I really enjoyed the Boston setting. I really enjoyed the story within a story. The ending was very ambiguous. However, I wasn't bothered by it. I actually liked the way that it ended. I liked the ambiguous ending. So again, this entertained me while I was on vacation. It did its job, and I do recommend this one. And the last book I read is another one by Sulari Gentill, and that is The Mystery Writer. I enjoyed The Woman in the Library so much, I just went through my own little Libby library app to find more books written by Sulari Gentill, and I found this one. And in this story, we are following Theo Benton, who is an aspiring Australian novelist who moves to Kansas, of all places, to join her successful lawyer brother, Gus. Theo then meets and befriends and is mentored by a famous author who turns up dead, with Theo being the prime suspect. As she searches for the truth behind her friend's death, she becomes entangled with a clandestine group of writers who believe storytelling is dangerous and also a powerful tool. Gus and his colleague Mac are trying to help clear Theo's name, but they are also drawn into this shadowy world of literary conspiracies, manipulation, and hidden agendas. Then Theo goes missing, and she has to make an unthinkable decision to protect everyone she cares about. So I did not like this as much as I liked The Woman in the Library. I was really kind of annoyed by all of the men in the story who just walked around wanting to protect Theo. You know, their one job was just to be there and protect her. It was really strange. And then I was annoyed by Theo's sacrifice to protect everyone. It just seemed ridiculous. And I was also annoyed by, there was this side thread of conspiracy chat room discussions interspersed throughout the story, and I wasn't exactly sure what Gentill was trying to do here, so some of this just went over my head. Now, The Woman in the Library was not a more plausible story, but it didn't seem to take itself so seriously, and because this story seemed to take itself seriously, the implausibility of it kind of irked me. But again, as I've said with all of these, it kept me occupied. It entertained me while I was on vacation. And, you know, if you're trying to choose between Sulari Gentill's books, and these are the only two that I've read, I would recommend The Woman in the Library, not The Mystery Writer. So that is all I have for you today. An unexpected mystery binge, 5 books that I read back to back in 1 week. Tell me, have you read any of these? Please let me know. And do you have any favorite vacation reads that you like to just throw on your Kindle or Kobo or iPad and read while on vacation? Please let me know. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining, and have a great day. Bye.